Hi, this is Karen from the Huntley Area Public Library, and today on Teen Crafternoon we're going to be making bleach t-shirts with freezer paper stencils. So we're going to gather some supplies and I'll give you some recommendations and we will get started. Let's make bleach t-shirts! Here are some of the supplies that I'm going to be using today. I have got some freezer paper, and this is for putting my design on, and then I'm gonna iron it on to my shirts. So if you have freezer paper on hand, that'll work because it has one waxy side that will stick if you iron it. If you have something else like regular paper, you can try placing it on top of your shirt and spraying around it. You just have to be kind of careful that the bleach doesn't get underneath the edges. So don't be super concerned if you don't have the freezer paper. You're going to need some bleach, of course, to do this. This is extra concentrated, so I'm going to dilute that and put some in a spray bottle with some water before I apply it to my shirt. If you don't have a spray bottle, you could dilute your bleach a little bit in a bowl and maybe paint it on. Just use something that you can control. This isn't like tie-dyeing in a basin where you submerge the whole t-shirt to get it to change color. So you're going to want to apply it sparingly. If you have a more complicated design to put on your shirt, you might want to have one of these X-Acto knives and a pad to use with it to cut out your design. Or scissors will work just as well. I have double stick tape because I'm going to use that to stick my design, have a design as well, to my t-shirts, or not to my t-shirts, to my freezer paper so that I can cut out the areas that I want to remove. And have some options for different designs to put on your t-shirt. They don't have to be things that you print out. You could create your own just by drawing directly on the freezer paper if you want to. And t-shirts, of course. I recommend something that's 100% cotton. I've gotten the best results with 100% cotton. If you have something that's a lot of polyester, sometimes the bleach doesn't remove the color. So if you have a t-shirt that you want to test out, you could find a spot that's not real obvious, maybe on the bottom hem or something, and try a little bit of bleach and see how it does, because you do want the bleach to remove the color and not spray it all over and then be disappointed that nothing has happened. So test spot your shirt if you would like to do that. And I recommend a darker colored t-shirt so that you have obvious results. So red or black or blue or purple, something dark like that to work with. Okay, so let's get started. So we're entering design phase. I am going to be using, I think, this picture of my rabbit Tiny Bunny, and I'm going to put that on one side of the shirt, and then I want the words Tiny Bunny to be on the other side of the shirt, so I want to make stencils for both of these. And with the bleaching, the areas that you cut out are the ones that are going to be sprayed with bleach. So if I wanted to highlight these lighter areas in my design, then those are the areas that I'm going to remove so that I can have them lighten up on the shirt, and then maybe make an outline so that you can see where the bunny is. So I'm going to attach this to a piece of the freezer paper and also attach that to my my letters here, and I'm going to get my shirt ready too. So my freezer paper came in this absolutely huge roll, and maybe you can find it in a smaller roll if you don't already have some at home. I was a little bit overwhelmed by the size of this. We're going to need a piece of it. So I torn that off. I'll get the container out of the way. And then I want to attach my design to one side of it. So I'm going to use my tape to do that. I'm trying to get it into the places where I think I remember seeing rabbit shape, so that when I cut it out, it doesn't just fall off. Okay. All right, and then for the tiny bunny part, I'm trying to decide, do I want the letters to show up white, or do I want them to show up with a white background? What do you think? I think I want the letters to show up white. And I want them to be in a different shape than they are right now. So I kind of want them to be in a circle. So I'm going to cut out each of these so that I can arrange them where I want them to be. Okay. In a circle. Get some tape on the back of those. And now I can move them around too if I need to, if I don't like the spacing. So I got the tiny part, and now I want bunny. Yeah, that looks good to me. You can do this too. Lay out your design ahead of time to see if you like it. You can put it on your shirt too and test it and see if it's taking up the amount of space you want it to cover, and if it looks good there and it's not awkwardly bleeding into your armpit or something like that on the shirt so you can't read it. Okay, so I'm ready to cut this out now. So first I'm just going to separate these two things. And then I'm going to trim some of the extra off of here. And you can use other paper or freezer paper or masking tape when you put your design on your shirt too, to cover the parts of the t-shirt that you don't want the bleach to get on. You're just going to mask all of those areas so that you don't have any worries about that. So another recommendation I have for you is that you choose a relatively simple design so that you don't spend hours cutting something out and then have the bleach bleed underneath it and lose all of that fine detail. So try something that's a little bit simpler to start with, and then as you gain skill doing this, you can try something more complicated. I think I've already chosen something that's too complicated here, so we'll see how this goes. I want to, since she's a black rabbit, I want most of her to stay black when I do the bleach part, but I do want to have some definition around, like an outline around her ears and her body, so that you can tell that she's definitely a rabbit and not just like a black blob on the shirt. Or I don't just get the eyes on the shirt. So I think what I'm going to do is cut out a small outline here with my X-Acto knife, and you can do this in pieces. Hopefully I'm getting all the way through the paper and the freezer paper underneath. Can't really tell yet. It feels like I'm hitting the pad there. Maybe it just hasn't torn off. There we go. Okay. And I can kind of cut across here. And remove that part. Yeah, and sometimes working with this X-Acto knife is kind of interesting. So be very careful if you're using one of these not to cut yourself. And take your time cutting pieces. Skip this entirely and use scissors. I know I'd be probably much faster with the scissors. I don't know if I'd get as exact detailed though. And I kind of want to leave her attached to the bigger piece so that that will protect the areas that I don't want to turn white. So I'm going to cut out this part in her ear and probably this part over here, this part around her eyes, around her nose and her cheeks, right around her belly and her legs, and around in here around down in her chest area too. So I'm going to work on that, and you work on cutting yours out as well, and then I will come back and show you what areas I decided to remove. Okay, about almost 40 minutes later, here's what we've got. I ended up removing some of the edges of the paper, which I'm just going to stick on to the shirt when I iron it, and we lost a few paws just because there was some white areas in there that I wanted to define. So this is more like what it's going to look like. There's more white here than I remember. Okay, so kind of like that, and then I've got the tiny bunny words and the bee. I have these two little tiny pieces right here that have to go back in there and be ironed on too. So we're going to go over to the ironing station and get started with that part of it. Okay, so we're getting ready to iron now, and we want to make sure that our ironing surface is safe. So if you have an ironing board, you could use that. I'm going to be ironing on my counter, and I'm putting a towel underneath my shirt so I don't melt my countertop, which is a possibility. So I'm going to put my rabbit on the front of the shirt here, and then I'll put the words on the back. So I have to get all my rabbit pieces now and decide where I would like them to be. Do I want my bunny in my belly? No. Now I have to remember where everything was. Or I can just iron on one piece at a time and we'll see what happens. I'm using an iron on the hot setting right now. You could start off with medium to see how quickly this adheres, and I don't have any steam turned on. There's no water in my iron, so. Oh, that's nice. Looks like it just went completely flat on there. Ooh, I love it when things work. So I'll just go over that a couple times. So the reason you don't want to use wax paper is that both sides of the paper are waxy, and that could get stuck to the iron. Although if that's all you have, you might be able to put like a piece of paper over your design to get it to stick with just the one piece of wax, and so it doesn't, and protect your iron from adhesion. Alright, so my little pause here, I have to remember which is which. I think it went like that. Is that right? Oh boy. I think that's correct. And for this one, I think I want to trim it a little bit. Because I wanted it to look more like her full paw, so let me do that real quick. Can you see any of that? Let's move it up. All right. So I got the bun on, the bun face, and now I'm putting the paws on. And this paw, I need to trim a little bit, so let's make it a little bit rounder. Now it looks like she's got a little mitten. Okay, and then I'm going to iron those pieces on. I have to straighten out. I squashed my towel a little bit when I moved everything up, so let's make sure everything's laying flat again. And you can see that some of the paper on top is coming off, but that's all right because that's really the stencil part is on the freezer paper. I think we're like this. Okay. So we'll quickly adhere that down. Oh yeah. Yeah, that part just came right off. That's okay, because I don't need that to stay. Just this part is fine. My stencils are working! Okay, and let's move this down a little bit so we can do the space that goes between the bunny's ears, which is right up in here. And I have some pieces that fit around the side too. We'll do this one first. Yep. Okay. It looks like some of the ink is getting re-inked, so I'm gonna rinse off the, once this is cool, I'm going to rinse off of the, or wipe off the surface of my iron so that I don't have any printer ink that would go onto any of my clothes. Not that I use my iron for ironing clothes, but in case I ever want to, that might be a good idea. So here are these two side pieces that I'm going to add back in. This is interesting. All right, hopefully that doesn't look too weird when it gets bleached. She was laying down and you can get, this is kind of where her back end was. All right, so I think that is good. I hope this looks nice when it's bleached. I have high hopes. Iron that down. Get this last little bit. Iron this down. Oops. Keep that little paw there. When the paper really wants to come off, you will soon. Okay. So my bun is ironed down, and the paper doesn't look totally straight on here, but that's okay because we're gonna mask off this part too so that I don't get bleach on the outside there. I just want the bleach to be in these areas that I removed here, so it should be okay. It won't look too off kilter. All right, so I want to put the tiny bun words on the back here, so let's readjust my towel and then decide where I want to put that. So the neck of the shirt is up here, and I think I want it to be kind of in the center of the back. So eyeball that. So maybe like right there. Higher. Okay. Whoops. And then I caught the cord underneath it. Be careful. Okay. ironing. Lovely. Okay, and now I need those two little pieces that go with my bee. One there and one down here. Does the big one go on the bottom? I have forgotten. It's okay. Okay. And now they just need to not move while I iron them. Quick. All right, those are down. Looks good. So once your stuff is, your stencil is ironed onto your shirt, if you are ironing, you can turn off your iron and let it cool off. And once it's cool, clean it up if you had your ink sort of melting onto it like mine was. So we're almost ready to do our bleaching. Before we do that though, you're gonna wanna protect the parts of your shirt that you don't want to be bleached. So that means putting something underneath your design, and I've got just a piece of cardboard with some plastic wrapped around it to protect my shirt. If you just have some plastic bags or something like that, you could put those on the inside, or another piece of that freezer paper will help protect it. Just something that's not real, it's not going to absorb the bleach, and will keep it from staining the other side of your shirt. So I've got that in there, and I do want to protect some of these other areas too in case my spritzing gets a little wild. So I'm going to take some more pieces of freezer paper and just use some tape and tape those around to protect the shirt. Here we go. Taping the freezer paper on. And you could just iron this on too if you wanted to, like you did with your stencil, but I don't really want it to be stuck to my shirt. So hopefully this will do the job. That part's okay. Maybe I need one down there and one up there. Okay, so I do want some of the ears to show there. I don't want a huge line. Well, we'll see what happens. Tape. Tape. And tape down here. Tape. Tape. That's kind of a weird spot. Tape that there. Okay. See my weird spot? Right over there. Alright, so we're ready to bleach now, I think. Uh-oh. Is that not down? Okay. So for our bleach, we're going to use a little spray bottle like this, and I'm going to fill it about halfway with some bleach, or just half and half bleach and water. You're probably not going to need a whole lot, especially with my design since I'm just doing these little areas. If you're bleaching more, then you might need a little bit more bleach. And then I'm just going to spritz it really gently and really lightly. You probably don't need a lot to start with. So I would spritz first, wait a little bit, like a minute, and see if it starts to lighten, and then if it does, yay, maybe that's all you need. If you want it a little bit later after that wait, if it's not lightening, add a little bit more. So let me prep my bleach and I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, my bleach is prepped. You might want to do this outside or in a very well ventilated area. We did this inside the library once and it was pretty strong. So bleach is kind of caustic, not great to breathe, so turn on your ventilation or go outside to do this part. And I'm just gonna start spritzing just a little bit and see what happens. can see mine is lightening already in some areas. And you don't really want it to get underneath your stencil, so try and be careful of that. I'm just gonna wait and see how it lightens. That looks like it's lightening really nicely. You can see it's turning kind of orange in some places. That is what we want. You can also wear gloves too if you are needing to touch this at all. I say as I poke at it with my bare finger. Okay, and when you think that you've got the, the lightness that you want, you can stop poking at it and take your stencil off and see what it looks like. So let me do that. And be careful with what you're wearing too, because if the bleach gets on you, then you will also the clothes that you're wearing right now will also get bleached, so be aware of that. Looking good, done. Oh, so this part where I got a little fiddly with the details, I'm hoping that turned out okay. Do I have some bun definition? Yeah, cool, okay. I do have some bun definition. Let me get that off of there before my bleaches it. There's some bun here. I'm trying to be careful to not get any of the bleachy bits on here. It looks like she's got a little bit of a T crossing her ears at the top. Yeah, that's not bad though. Okay. We'll move on to doing the back in just a second. Okay, my bleach bun is still a little bit wet, so I'm going to flip them over, but I'm going to use this piece of, or this plastic bag to kind of protect my towel underneath there so that doesn't get bleached. Flipping, and then we have the tiny bunny part there that we still have to bleach. Now, I do not want to get bleach on the area surrounding this, so let me put some paper down again. And this piece was already on the other side, so I want to make sure that the bleachy area does not get on this side of the shirt. Bleach on it, so okay. This side and this side, covering all the areas. Yes. Whoops, don't want that over the Y. I'll get that part there. So the only areas I'm getting are these little black areas around the words. Piece over here got wet somehow. Hey. Protect, protect. one last little area to protect. Maybe I can steal some of this. Will that do it? Yay! All right. That, whoops, right there. Okay, I think we got it mostly protected. Just seal this part. Okay, we're ready to do it. Ready to bleach again? Here we go. Flatten it out. And I'm going to stay kind of near as I'm bleaching. My bleach is a little bit gooey. I think that's the extra concentrated, a feature of the extra concentrated kind. And that looks like it got pretty saturated. I'll wait for it to start lightening up. But I shouldn't need any more than that. So that was just a very tiny bit of bleach. Be sure to wait and see how yours starts to fade or bleach before adding more bleach. And it's starting to get that orangey color again. It's interesting that places, like part of it, it looks like I have a ton of bleach on in this area, but it's not lightening up as fast as some of the parts where there's less bleach. Why would that be? Is it because they need air to interact with the fabric too? So I'm gonna move it around with my finger a little bit again, since I want a little bit better coverage there. Although it looks kind of industrial to have it. Oh, careful, don't get under the stencil. Looks a little bit industrial to have it like that, where it's not completely orange or solid colored. Okay, so we can remove that up. You can see I got a little bit of a splash up underneath the protective pieces. But for the most part, that did its job. And, oh. So that was a little bit less defined than I want. That's okay. Tiny Bunny is a tiny bit blurry, and then these little bits I don't think protected too much at all. So tiny. Okay. So if you want your bleach to stop bleaching, you're gonna have to start to rinse it out. So I'm gonna rinse off my t-shirt because I'm ready for that to be done. I also don't want it to bleach anything else, so I might just press some paper towel on top of that to absorb the extra bleach without moving it around too much, because I don't want it to smear it into other areas of the shirt. Okay, press, 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 press. Okay, we're good. You can see the little imprint of all the bleach on there. Press. Okay, and we'll flip back over. Here's what our bun looks like on the other side. Lovely. I'm going to rinse this out and then wash it separately from other things in my laundry so that the bleach, if there's any residual bleach, does not get onto anything else. But that is basically how you do it. I hope you had fun making bleach t-shirts with stencils today and that yours turned out really great. For more fun ideas, you can check out our website, www.huntleylibrary.org, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for our newest videos. See you next time. Bye.